Okay.
Ready? Okay. All right. Just waiting for the Facebook Live to pop up. There we are.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday, March 28th.
That's
Can
right.
you believe it? Like
That's
we're already 3 months into this year.
Completing the first quarter and
Holy moly.
and like, what do we want for our next quarter? It's this like I'm such a quarter person that's like, okay, what's important about this 3 months and the next 3 months? And yeah, it's all wanted. So let's see what the wheel of topic wants for us today. Let's see if we can get
spin that baby.
All right, let's spin it.
I know I'm starting to really get into this 3 month thing. Like,
yeah,
we've done a lot of like solstice mapping. Oh, here we go.
No. Okay.
No.
Interesting. Snow.
And
falling. The word falling pops into my head. So as we connect it back to creating having sustainable creativity and snow, it's almost like falling ideas, like ideas falling from the sky.
I love that. Yeah.
Let's do with that.
Yeah.
How do we allow for ideas to just kind of drop in?
Well, that would sort of tap into the sort of the thing, I
know it's Monday,
my Monday mouth.
Yeah.
For the thing that came up for me, which was the image of that experience when snow has fallen, you wake up and you go outside and it is just quiet. And that sense of quiet, where all of a sudden it's like the whole world paused.
Yeah.
And that feeling, which is for me connected to taking downtime, alone space, meditation, particularly, some form of nature connected quietness. That's when the waterfall of creativity often for me starts to flow, because it quiets the busyness and it makes room.
Yeah. Peaceful.
For all of that. Yeah.
We don't allow, at least I know I can get into this place. I don't allow myself enough peace and quiet to just sit and enjoy. And it's setting that intention around embracing it, intention of like, I'm going to be in this moment and really honor just what is happening, not worried about the 500 million other things that need to happen.
Yeah, I was just thinking about how, especially when we're used to going a lot, that slowing down can be really uncomfortable. I was noticing it last night. Like, I had single parented for the weekend and I was like, okay, I'm getting shit done. And I was like,
right, I get it. I totally get it. Yeah.
I was like, go. And then my husband came back and he was like really wanting to connect. And I was like, it was like a diesel train that had a hard time stopping. I was like, I was just keeping going. And I was just noticing that thing because I'm familiar with it enough now. Before, I used to just get agitated and be like, let me just do my stuff. And I got shit to do.
well, and now I'm sensing from you, like, now there's an awareness that this is happening.
So it's the awareness of understanding our nervous system activation and how what we need is not always what naturally is wanting to happen. And it takes that awareness building and going around the block many times and trying different things and learning new skills, or learning to recognize how those voices of sort of sympathetic arousal show up, and the kinds of thoughts that then tend to show up, and learning to recognize that those are just specifically to that sort of state of being, but they're not necessarily the truth in that moment. Like, they're part of the truth, but also
there's like a 10% truth around it, and there's a bunch of other information that we can receive.
And especially if like last night when I was noticing myself getting a little agitated because I was struggling to slow down because my system wasn't getting what it wasn't getting the input, and it wasn't getting the right input in order for me to slow down. And so just noticing that and being familiar enough with it to realize, oh, this is not agitation I need to lean into. It's actually just a signal that it's time for me to slow down, but I'm just having a hard time doing it.
Right. And snow does that, right? It will slow down
immediately.
Community. It will slow down. You have to drive slower. You need to, like, sometimes you're just snowed in, and it's a lovely an excuse to be like, go out and play in the snow. Playfulness, creativity, all of that, right? And we need that permission, and it's almost an external permission to slow down when it snows, and it is that prettiness to it. But it's like, oh, why do I have to wait for something to fall or some external thing to happen to give myself permission to slow down?
Right. Because unless we make it a conscious practice, we will be at the mercy of that system.
Yeah. And we might slide off the road because we're going still too fast in how we are approaching life.
Yeah. And so this is what I'm thinking in terms of Italy. It's like, it's an opportunity to practice that muscle. It's an opportunity to really like deeply embed yourself into what, not just know that you need, that it's a good idea to slow down, that it'll help your creativity. It's really actually doing it so that you have a lived experience and a felt sense that really, we're understanding this more and more, which is unraveling patterns. If we have a significant enough experience, it actually speeds up the ability to sort of change those patterns or to rewrite the habits, like by 10x or 100x or whatever. It's so how would I say it?
I think it's powerful. Like it's awareness is popping up for me, Mary, is like we just bring a faster awareness to what's happening. Like before, imagining with what you're sharing about your weekend is like, it might have taken you a lot longer to recognize what state you were in, but because you've had a practice on a regular basis of starting to tune in, you're able to catch that faster. And I'm noticing that as well. Yeah. And so in these moments of frazzledness, which so many of us are sitting in, frustration and frazzle and overwhelm, it's like, I love that I can go like, oh, I'm in this state and I'm at choice of how I want to approach it from this point on.
Yeah. Because here's the thing, like when the more sort of under stress or under pressure we are, the more we revert back to whatever the most deeply wired habit is that we have. And if we want more options, then it requires practice outside of the stressed state in order to pre-cultivate that option so that it becomes so deeply familiarly traveled or deeply embodied so that we can actually access it under pressure. And that was actually a really that was very much what was happening for me yesterday. And it's something that I'm seeing with folks a lot, actually, of the desire of like, I know I want to do something different, but they haven't necessarily cultivated the new way of being enough in order to actually have access to it when it really matters.
Yeah, we're both of us are up to this in the world, is helping our clients build those new pathways to first recognize what the path has been, and then start building new pathways. And it's happening like with behaviors, it's happening with the neural pathways in the brain. It's a whole rewiring of our nervous system. So we'll have these kind of conversations this summer in Italy around, when we're thrown something, we have choice on how we want to react to it and really choose how present we want to be. Yeah,
I love the way that like the Schreurs Institute, which is a somatic coaching institute, they teach it, or how they phrase it, which is it simply opens it expands the possibilities that we have access to when we're under pressure.
Yeah. And who doesn't want to expand their possibilities?
Right.
I feel so blessed to know that there's other ways to approach life than where I was wired. Even 5 years, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I was on autopilot. What I love about my life now is I can choose when I want to get off of autopilot and be more intentional. And it's really opened up some wonderful pathways to my way of being. And so just want that for more people.
Yes. And I think there's I'm so with you there. What popped in was like, there's so often these ways of being that we start to assume are just the way we are, when in fact, they're just really deeply wired habits, and they can be changed.
With that, I think that's a great way to wrap up. It can change.
Yes,
it can. So we'll put links down below in the chat. The change starts with conversation, and we're going to deep dive into that when we go to Italy this summer. So
yes,
we'll see
the
you
Q&A.
That's right. 31st to 3 p.m. Pacific time. We'll talk about the Italy trip and what we have cooked up for it. All right.
Come join us. We want to hear. Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.